Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Maple Felton, and I welcome you to the Feet Planted channel. Feet Planted is all about helping students succeed in STEM and in life. As you can see from my background, it is Women's History Month, and I thank you for joining me. I have had a lineup of great women from diverse backgrounds, all killing it, all representing, and really just making this world better because they're in it. And my next guest is not going to be any different. She is a friend of mine, someone that I have known for a long time, but more importantly, she is remarkable. She is a wife, a mother, an entrepreneur, amazing daughter, great sister, just a real trailblazer in my eyes. But don't take my word for it. You will hear from her soon and you will see for yourself. So thank you for tuning in today. And please don't forget to like and subscribe, because I bring information to you, not just about STEM, but about culture and topics that impact us. So please feel free to leave a note in the comments if there's another subject matter that you'd like to hear that I can bring to you. So without further ado, let's welcome Leslie Chapman to the stage. Hello, Leslie, how are you?
Hello, Karen. I am doing very well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm better because I'm sitting across the keyboard from you, my dear. So we're going to kick this off. As custom, I'm going to read her bio and then we're going to get into some questions. All right, so folks, let me introduce you to Mrs. Leslie Chapman. She is a realtor and real estate investor with her husband, John. They own single family properties and manage their ongoing operations. Leslie's current focus is to shift from single family to multifamily properties. Can we say mogul? To this role, Leslie had over 15 years experience working in oil and gas, utilities, and nonprofit industries, project managing, development, delivering training solutions designed to support business goals. Her outstanding strengths include leadership, communication, cross-functional collaboration, and influencing. I can vouch for all of those. Leslie is known for having effective communication skills. She's the natural ability to draw people from various backgrounds and perspectives toward her. Again, just really being amazing in the spaces that she's been in. Other endeavors Leslie's involved in include making natural bath and body products. She does this through her company, Chayah. Also, Leslie, along with two co-authors, published their first children's book, Boops, Character Mission, Mission 1, Roatan. This book is available on xlibris.com. We're going to put all of this information in the chat because I'm about to butcher some names. It's okay. And Amazon. Leslie enjoys spending time with her husband and 3 energetic toddlers. 2 are twins, that's amazing, and traveling with her family. Leslie holds a master's in education from University of St. Thomas and a bachelor's in chemical engineering from Clarkson University, our alma mater. So let's welcome Leslie. Leslie, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
So,
there's the book. As Karen said, Books, Character Missions is a book with my I co-authored with my husband and our nephew Braun, my brother's sister's son. Anyway, we co-authored a book. So it's a book that's in, we published it last year, and it's going to be one in a series of 10. So we have 10 stories that we will be creating. We have created 3 of the 10 stories so far. So we're looking to publish book number 2 this year, later on this year.
That is awesome. So you saw me do a horrible job.
Oh, no.
The book. Hopefully you got a glimpse. Again, with everyone else, I'm going to put a link in the description with the title. So all you have to do is click. You don't even have to think about it. You can go right to the book. So I am so excited about the journey that you have been on. So folks, let me just run down for you. Engineer, chemical engineer, pop collar, chemical engineer 2. Entrepreneur, realtor, mother of 3, wife. The expanse of her abilities as a woman to be in all of those spaces is exactly why we celebrate women. So Leslie, your first question is, I read the bio, all the good stuff, but talk to the audience about your journey. And you can start from as a student and work forward, or you can start with your career, wherever you choose to.
Okay, well, I can start from student. When you say student, you mean college student, right? Okay, so I chose. Now we'll get to that a little later, the history behind how I got to chemical engineering. But so career journey has been varied and vast, as Karen has alluded to. I worked as an engineer, process engineer. Karen and I went to school together. So I met her. She was in grad school at Clarkson. I was in undergrad, and we roomed together. We became real close friends. We've probably been friends since 1997. So we go way back. Okay.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. And so I interned at the same company Karen was at, a process engineer, and did that for a few years, 97, summer 97. And then I ended up working there when I graduated for Corning Incorporated as a process engineer. I had an epiphany though in 2000. And I was like, I don't like this. And I cannot see myself doing this for 30 years. When we were coming up, it was like you picked a career and you rolled with that career because that's what our parents did. And I was struggling with that concept. I was like, no, it just did not resonate with me. So I had a couple options, and these are the options I gave myself. I'm either going to apply to the Peace Corps or Teach for America, but I was going to go give. And having that conversation, or give back, having that conversation with my parents was interesting, which you'll soon learn when we get back to the history on how I became an engineer in the first place. And my dad was like, well, you could give back being an engineer. You don't have to like cut the salary and all that goes on with it. Anyway, long story short, I ended up applying to Teach for America. I got selected to teach high school science in Texas. So that's where I moved from New York, which is where I'm originally from, to Texas. So I taught for a number of years. I come to acknowledge, hindsight's 2020, but looking back, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. That comes from my mom, but I didn't know it at the time. But that leader, getting there, you want more for yourself, like that's driven by my mom. I get that directly from her. And so tried a couple things, wanted to start a school, tried to go the what do you call it? The charter school route. And that just didn't end up working out. And so from after teaching, I went to a nonprofit and I ran an after school program. And then I got hired on as staff at the church I was attending to be a youth director. So I did that. And then I was like, no, I need some more money. So, and you'll see a theme in what I do as I tell my story. And so I'm like, how can I parlay, my skills, my love for educating and things like that into another position that's definitely more lucrative, but then I'm also working more with adults. That's when I learned I had a friend who was doing that, and I didn't know it at the time. It was training and development. So I started looking for those roles, and I said to myself, man, if I just get in one door and then I'll just kick it open, right? Like, I just need to get in, because when you're applying, I tried to go back to engineering, but by that time I was like 10 years out, and so, that wasn't looking favorable. And so, but I knew I wanted more, but what else is there? So asking questions, interviewing people, meeting with people, having conversations, I learned about learning and development. So I said, that's what I'm going to apply for. So I went into learning and development in oil and gas, ended up working for BP, started off as a contractor, but then the doors got kicked open, right? After I proved myself, they definitely hired me on. So I was there for 4 years. And in there, I did project management. I led people management. That's where I got my first, I did people management at the nonprofit as well, but people management, project management, and really starting to prove myself as a manager. And so from there, I morphed into a consulting role, doing more project management for utilities and gas industries as well. And then I got pregnant. Now it was time to work on family. So I had kids. So there was a pause there. Before I had my kids, though, we finally bought real estate. So real estate is something that is near and dear to me because of primarily my mom. and I wanted to invest, but I didn't. But in 2015, we started investing. So we bought a few properties, 2 in 2016, 1 in 2015. And so now we're owners of rental properties. And then we had our first child, Noah, who's now 5. And then 22 months later, we had the twins, Isaiah and Armani, who are 3 years old. So I was home with my kids for the most part during that time. When the twins were born, I was home. So I was home for 2 years with all of them. And then in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, I say I'm going to go out and pursue my realtor career, because I did get my license back in 2017, but I didn't utilize it because I was busy having kids, you know? And so, so that's where I am now. I am a realtor. So I am a full-time agent, and I've done a number of things regarding being a realtor, which is one of the things I wanted to learn, was what I did not know as an investor. What are the things that I don't know that I probably ought to know? Now, I don't need to know all the details that a realtor knows, but it was just good information for me to have. So as Karen said in the intro, now my focus is now going to shift. I've been here for 1.5 years now, and I now know what I really want to focus on. And that's, as an investor, multifamily properties. And as a real estate agent, I want to focus on multifamily. So now I'm getting niche specific, and I'm directing my efforts towards that. That's my journey.
I was gonna say it's wow. That is so cool. So at the top, I told everybody Feet Planted is about how my passion to help students succeed in STEM and in life. Folks, this is life. The word that sums up what I heard is having courage to pivot. So maybe 2 words, courage and pivot. You pivoted a couple of times, a couple times. Can you talk about the benefits of having the courage to pivot from even as a student and as a professional? You can choose whichever vantage point you like.
I would say more from a professional, because I really didn't pivot as a student. I kind of stuck my heels in engineering, even if I struggled at times. And, that's what I set out to do. That's what I'm going to do. I pivoted as an adult. I think I had enough of that in undergrad, where I was like, no, I'm not going to commit myself to something that I don't want to do, because that would be punishment. And that's like a disservice to myself. And so it does take courage. But here's the thing. And I've told myself this in a number of moves that I've made. When I left New York to come to Texas, people were like, why are you going to Texas? There's nothing but cowboys. And I mean, these are people who really don't know what's in Texas. So they're ignorant. Speaking to someone who's making a move, who's currently ignorant, because I didn't know, but trying to, I guess, protect me, so to speak. But it's like, here's the thing. In any move that you make, you know what it is in the situation you're in. You don't know what it is or what it's going to be like in the situation you're not in. So for me, it's like, go and try this. If it doesn't work, I can come back. And that's, you know what I'm saying? So to not try something, you're doing yourself a disservice, because if you leave on good footing, which I do, I don't burn too many bridges. And if I'm burning a bridge, it is over. But I'll burn too many bridges. But you leave in a way that you can come back if you need to. And if you choose to, not even need to, if you just choose to, it's a choice to come back. Like me going, right now I'm at a point where I want to do more learning and development, because I miss the people management. I miss that aspect of reaching goals. I miss that. And I was good at it. So I don't see that as, I see that as an opportunity to see what's there, what's next, what else is there for you. And if you choose to not do that, then you kind of rob yourself of a potential opportunity. It could be a good one, and it may not be a good one, but you'll never know unless you try. And so that's how I view when I make pivots. I'm like, well, I've tried this. I know what this is like, but I don't know what this is like. So let me go and see. And if it doesn't work out, it could be something else I'll get into, or I can come back to hear what I know. And so that's kind of the way been my little mantra in the back of my head when I make moves. And here's another thing. I've come to accept that my temperament, not everybody's like this, but there are a lot of people like me, in that we get bored. when I do the same thing. Karen, similar in that regard, cannot do the same thing over and over again. So even if I pivot and my pivots be like, as one friend says, you like reinvent yourself like every few years. Okay, because I reinvent in like new industries, and I mean, I'm like going, but you can also reinvent yourself at the same company doing different roles. People do that and go to different departments that are totally different from where they started as well. And so I've come to acknowledge that that is how I am. That's why I liked consulting, because I didn't want to be on the same project for 6 years. No, that's not me. If you want the best of me, then put me where I can thrive. And that's where I that's where I do make these changes, because if I'm feeling like there's no growth, or I'm limited, or there is, I can't see the next move or whatever, then I'm gonna start to make moves. I'll start to look for opportunities and make moves. Hope that I answered.
Yes, that is so good. You, like many of my other guests, have said so many things that resonated with me, and I'm going to pick out a couple. And you correct me if I'm wrong. In order to make those pivots, it's okay to launch out into the unknown. It's quite all right, because you're going to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
And you also said that you. And you know that you need to be engaged in a variety of different things. And for some people, that may come off as being flaky, or, you just don't know what you want to do. It all depends on your thought process. So speak to the audience. There's somebody out there that's saying, that's me too. Like, I like to do different things, but I don't know what I need to do to really show up as me in a different space, or maybe I need to, as you said, you can have a different opportunity in the same environment, same company. So just talk about what your process was for one of your pivots, or if there's a pattern that you use. What process, what skills do you need in order to be okay with making some of the decisions that you've made?
That's a really good question. I hope I can answer it sufficiently. Like, if there's a process that I there's nothing that I could sit down and honestly say that I've documented, this is how you're going to do X, Y, and Z. I don't. I think some of it becomes innate after you do it for so long. What I would say, though, is that I do look at what skills that I have or that I have developed that are transferable. And that's one of the things that are important when you are looking to make a move. Because if you're going to work for yourself, or let's just say, forget working for yourself, work for someone, but it also applies if you work for yourself. You've got to know what skills you have, or get tools to help you identify the skills that you have. Speak to people that can help you, mentors to tell you, or even recruiters to help you to see which skills that you have are transferable. So communication, project management, whether I was in engineering or not, the skills that you learn in performing certain functions, they can translate across a variety of industries. And so I would say spend time getting to know that, like, really. And here's the thing, this is a really important point. We tend to neglect ourselves and neglect the value that we bring. I mean, I say that because I've done it. Karen's nodding her head. She's probably done it. It's so easy for you to pick out the skills in someone else than it is to pick out the skills in yourself, or pick out what value they bring and push your own self to the wayside. And I'm just saying, it's time out for that, little sister, young queens. It's time out for that. Spend the time to look at what you've done, what you enjoy doing, and really why you liked doing what you were doing. What was it about it? And ask yourself those questions. It's really worth it. People bounce from job to job, and I'm not putting myself in that category because I stopped doing that. Like, I spend time to say, well, what is it that I really want? Where is it that I can make the best mark? For example, when I had gotten laid off from BP, so that was a point of transition. I disliked where things were going at BP. I had loved it up until the last year, because they moved my department to a different department, new leadership group, and they were, I'm just keeping it 100. I just did not align with them. They laid me off and I was upset. Well, why am I upset? Anybody that's been laid off gets upset because you didn't have control of you leaving the company. Even though you didn't like it, you didn't have control. So you go through that phase. It's like you got to go through the grieving stages of getting let go. Okay, so we're going through that. Then now comes the time. What do you want to do next, Leslie? I knew I wanted to do consulting because I was wanting to leave BP. So I was considering consulting roles. But what kind of job did you want? What kind of firm did you want to be in? So I knew I wanted to be in consulting, but taking the time to really see where I can make the biggest difference was determining I wanted to be in a small boutique firm that is growing, because for me, when they're growing, there's opportunities for me to do different things, wear different hats. And I've already expressed to you, I like to do different things. So it allowed me to target, because I knew I was going to bring people management. I knew I was going to bring the project management and those leadership skills, and they would still develop. But what else? And so those are the things that I think you ought to consider. Take the time. You are worth it. You are worth taking the time to say, what is it that I like to do? What values do I bring? What skill sets do I bring so that I can add value to the next organization or your own business, whatever you choose to do next, that you can bring that value to it. And then you will have more confidence in presenting yourself and representing yourself, because you've taken the time to really form a rifle approach. So you want to be a rifle when you're looking at positions. You don't want to just be a shotgun where you're like, anywhere, whoever takes me. You're not that. You're so much more than that. So being niche specific or being targeted in your approach, that's being the rifle. And you can only get to that point if you take the time to really invest in yourself to determine what it is that you want to do. Hope I answered it sufficiently.
You answered it beautifully, and not just because I agree with you, but because I have lived that a couple of times. And what I want to key on is understanding your skill set. One of the things that I tell students, I tell as many people as I can, to include myself, the comparisons have got to stop. You need to understand how you show up. What makes you light up? I tell what makes you sit up and stand at attention. Take note of that, and make sure that the spaces that you are in and invited to and want to be in elicit that impact, that smile, that excitement. Now, there will be opportunities that won't always be fun. We know that. That's just called being an adult or just living life. But understanding what makes you you, and drawing in on that, so that opportunities that come across your path will line up to meet who you are and who you are becoming. I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't jump out of my chair, but hopefully you hear it in my voice. You answered that beautifully. You mentioned also about mentors and people that are and were in your life. So you and I both know we don't make a lot of our decisions without data. We're engineers. We include data, and we have people in our lives that know us, or at least have been on the periphery of observing us, that can guide us and tell us some things about ourselves. So who has been that for you? Who are your mentors, and who inspires you or has inspired you?
Wow, and when I wrote when I got the question, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, man, the mentors that have showed up for me situationally speaking, but overall, my oldest sister, Monique, she is like the general, like, I respect her so much. And her opinion, what she's done, we have a lot in common, but yet we are still very different. And so I do go to her for advice. Like, she's like an overall catch-all type mentor. But situationally speaking, I learned diplomacy from a gentleman named Dennis at BP. And he was a mentor without even knowing he was like my mentor. You ever had someone like that in your life where you just observe them and you have conversations with them, but it's like you just pick up on just the different things. And what he was really masterful at is maneuvering a crowd and being diplomatic. So he taught me diplomacy. Another person, a manager that I had, her name is Marcia. She taught me diplomacy. Another friend that I have, her name is Marcia. She taught me about being structured and professional, just going after what you want, knowing your values and the skills that you bring. So I learned that from her. And again, we've had a number of conversations. And so they show up as mentor type figures, but it's not like we have like, it's not like some mentors you pay them and they mentor you. It's not that type of relationship that I've had with them. My husband is a mentor. He's mentored me in a number of ways. So many that I cannot even really quantify, but just evolving as a woman, he's been very instrumental in that. Yes. I'm now beginning to acknowledge how much I've learned from being with him. And this year makes 20 years that we would have met, but 19 years being married. But even still, like, I mean, he's been a mentor because Karen may ask the question later, but my tendency to want to control, he's helped me to get a wrangle on that. He has helped me. I don't know if the mentors were all supposed to be female, Karen, when you asked the question, but these are the mentors that have stood out to me. And then of course there are books that I've read and people that I study like from books, but I'm not necessarily a groupie per se. So I don't have like, whatever this person drops, I'm on it. Like, I don't really have that, but it just depends on where I'm at in my life and what I'm needing and the specific thing that I'm going after. The mentor will appear in that way. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I appreciate you speaking on the fact that not all mentors are women. This is Women's History Month, but it takes a village. We need allies. We need all perspectives. And the inspiration of being an inspiration. So you mentioned there were mentors that didn't know that they were mentors. And you mentioned people that knew how they showed up. I can raise my hand and attest to Monique. She's my big sister too, and she's amazing. Just from me knowing her through you. What I want to foot stomp is that people are watching us. People are looking at how we do life as women, and we are important, which is why it's so vital to show up authentically. And the situations that we're in, you are in places on assignment and for a purpose to guide, to help shepherd someone who is in need of your skills, to just guide them to the next step, and then somebody else takes over. So I really appreciate the fact that you had multiple mentors, male and female, in different situations, spouse, siblings, just the whole gambit, because I think it really does take a village.
Yes, and I want to add to that. My parents definitely were instrumental because they formed the foundation of who I am. And they are the ones that did that. And now that I'm a parent, I see how vital, like the work that they did. Parents are unsung heroes for real, because they don't get they don't do it to get credit, but it's just like, now that I see, now that I'm in this position and mine are young, I'm like, wow, they're really unsung heroes. To your point, when it comes to mentors, it's like knowing where you are. Sometimes, and that comes with just getting older, but sometimes you get in a situation and you know what role that you're going to play. In this role, I'm going to be a big sister type, mentor type role to someone. In another role that I'm in, I'm going to be the student and I'm just receiving, give me your wisdom. I'm all about wisdom anyway. So give me, I'm going to take from you. So or get from you, the elder, if there's an elder. In other roles, it's more like a peer who may be excelling in something. And so you latch on to them. So just also know that you're going to morph into different roles when depending on the situation and relationships that you're in, you assume certain functions, and that's okay, because you're going to learn and grow from all of them anyway. So just keep that in mind too.
No, that's very good. We evolve. And when we do, it is for that time, that situation. So 100% agree with that. So I have another question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you enjoy most about your womanhood?
Okay, that was a loaded question. I'm gonna look at my answer because I've been kind of flowing. What I enjoy most, is the way I process information as a woman. There's a difference in the way women process information and men. And even amongst women, there are different ways that we all will do it. But I have come to really appreciate how I process information, how I'm able to do a number of things. And when I look at the women in my life, my friends, I mean, Karen's a sister to me. I mean, we've been together like 1997. We've known each other. So she's sister. All right. So my sisters, blood sisters, friend sisters, I look at all of us. I've scanned my family. I've scanned the women in my family. I've scanned the women that I know professionally. And I look at some themes have emerged and our ability to make decisions, our ability to be resourceful. That's woman. Men are wired differently. And it can get frustrating, or it used to get frustrating at times for me when I'm like, well, why can't he do it the way, not necessarily the way that I do, but why can't he accomplish all of it? But he's probably won't ever be able to because he's not wired that way. Women are wired different. So I appreciate the resourcefulness, the ability to keep so many things together, the role that we play in family, the heartbeat that keeps it all together, that I don't know, I have a fist here, but it's like the glue to keep it all together. That's a huge gift. And I appreciate that in my womanhood. I do. Let me look and see if I said anything else. Oh yeah, I've come to respect that process and see how I've evolved in my thinking the older that I get. So yeah, I mean, I didn't know that in my 20s, but as I kind of grow and you do life, as Karen said, we're adulting, you become more adult in this adulting experience. It's like, wow, that's a gift. That really is a gift. Mm-hmm.
I agree. As a woman, I definitely do. And I really like how you said it, being resourceful. In a previous interview, I said that, how do you manage to do it all? Well, that is one of our gifts. And as with any type of multifaceted nature, there are two sides to the coin, as you and I both know. So, my next question is, as beautiful and as inspiring, and I love how women are able to not just birth, but evolve and give birth to not just any idea, but just we show up in so many remarkable ways. There are challenges with that. And I would like for you to talk about maybe one of the challenges you've experienced, and choose any facet of your life that you like, and also tell us how you overcame that challenge.
Okay, as a professional, and I'll talk to very recent, I have no problem being transparent here. So when you go from a W-2 employee to a self-employed person working for yourself, that's a huge mind shift, right? Like that, there's an adjustment there. Those who have done it, I'm sure they know what I'm talking about, especially if you did it full time. That's why people transition, because it takes some time to adjust, because you have to ramp up to the new business that you're in, right? So for me, a challenge that I had was when I knew I was ready I was ready to go back to work. When my twins reached 2 and Noah was 4 and he could communicate, I was comfortable. I wasn't comfortable before then, but I got to a point where I was comfortable with them being in a committed program, preschool program. And I was also ready, Leslie, because you got to look after yourself too. I was wanting something else now, wanting to get back to, working, because I was used to being out there working and generating income as well. And so I chose to do it as a realtor. The challenge for me came with adjusting to generating income for myself, but then also knowing that I need the income for my kids because I have to pay for their school, and feeling like a failure, because when you're used to getting income, your salary coming in, whatever, every 2 weeks or however the frequency was, and then it's not. And then, it added some extra stress to my life, and I was trying to work through that. And here's the thing: it took me some weeks to realize that was stress. That was really, that I was like, how am I doing this? But not just stress; it was like stress on top of Leslie beating herself up, saying, "But because when you're used to bringing in money, you feel." I don't know. I guess the word could be inadequate, like I wasn't doing enough, even though I knew I was doing. So how did I overcome that challenge? Well, first of all, I have an amazing partner in my husband who always encouraged me, and he was fully supportive of the idea of what I was doing. And I had to learn to give myself grace. You see what I mean about going back to being hard on yourself? Like, you're gracious to others. If it was your girlfriend doing this, you would encourage her, and you got this, it's going to take time to ramp up. But talking to myself, my self-talk wasn't that. And so it became, in 2021, be gracious to yourself, be kind to yourself. Like, like literally mouthing those words, because I was not. My husband wasn't jumping on me about, you're not bringing in any money. Like, and I was bringing in money. I had deals, but it wasn't the consistent thing that I was doing. And so, because it was, consistent payout, like you'd get when you're working a W-2. And so, that was a huge challenge for me. It really was. And so just learning to be gracious. Another thing, and it's all still part of what I'm doing now, is where I've maybe made the determination, get niche specific. To your point about, so you're not like flaky and all over the place. I was like all over the place. I like to learn, so I enjoy learning new things, but that wasn't going to get me it's not going to get me to my goals if I don't hunker down and focus on something. And so now so I would say the points are: be gracious, allow yourself that learning curve. At least for me in my lesson, I had to give myself space to learn what I'm doing, to figure out what is it I want to focus on, and then make a plan to go after it. And that's where I am now. Mm-hmm.
That is great advice. I
Mm-hmm.
entered into 2022, and I said, I am giving grace, not just for other folks, but for myself. You have to give yourself grace. And this is for any listener out there at any age. Give yourself grace.
Yes.
And the opportunity to try again. That's really good. You also have a wonderful partner. I know John personally,
Mm-hmm.
and that's also a common theme for y'all out there. Yoke up with somebody that's gonna support you when the times get hard. can't hitch that wagon to just any old thing, because it needs to stand just this time. That's a free message. You didn't have to pay.
Free message. And because he's my rock. Like, as I'm like pivoting and making all these, somebody's the steady. He's the steady. And I'm like, hey, and I tell him, he is my rock for real. But he's wired that way.
That is awesome. That's beautiful. Give him a plug. I have another couple of questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any advice that you would give to a student or a young adult or an emerging professional, based on where you are now and what you have learned through your journey?
Oh, I think we've covered it in terms of the themes here. It's okay to change. It is okay to pivot. You grow, you learn, and you grow. And what you may be interested in today may look totally different 6 years from now. And that's okay. I will say, gone are the days where you feel like you need to be one place, hunker down for 30 years. I mean, that was our parents' generation. We don't do that now. If people stay 7 years, they're like, wow, But even in those 7 years, you could do a number of things, perform a few roles in those 7 years. And so it's okay. Self-talk, you're not a failure if you choose to do something else. Give it time though, learn where you're at before you make a move. Like, if you jump in every 2 months, that's one thing. If you're there somewhere 2-3 years, after 18 months to 2 years, it's okay for desires to change. I mean, there's studies that have shown that, like, people want to do something else, and that's okay. But be gracious to yourself. Your self-talk, encourage yourself in your self-talk. I would advise you look at it as another learning opportunity. What am I going to learn? What skills am I going to gain from this experience? Look at it as that. And if you have naysayers around you, for one, you might want to change the people if they're not supportive of it. Number two, some people that may be bloodline and they may not be supportive of it. It's okay. Not everyone's going to agree with the decision that you made. When I left engineering, my parents didn't agree. My dad in particular, they weren't angry, but it was just like, why are you doing that? But it's okay. At the end of the day, not every decision you make is going to please everybody. That's okay. And that even includes your spouse. Not every decision you make is going to please your spouse or your partner. It's just not. And so you're going to have to learn to be okay with that too. So I would say, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's okay. It's okay to adjust. If you need to, make a change, if you put a stake in the ground at 22, said, I'm going to be a teacher for the rest of my life. And then at 29, you decide you want to go to med school, go to med school. Go to med school. I mean, like, just do you. It's your lane. Karen talked about the comparison and or not would you say the competition is the word she used. When you look in scriptures, this whole comparison thing is a man-made. That's not even in the scripture. He says, run your race. You have a race to run and you get to create that. You partner, the Most High lets you create that. So you partner with him and you make it happen. And as long as what you're doing is not, violating, the scripture, the Torah, by all means, that gives you all kinds of flexibility to go pursue things. So go do it. And another thing to keep in mind, and this is one point that my sister Monique had said, if there's something in your spirit, in your ruach, that is just there, that you just can't shake it, it is for you to do. So I want you to get that, young queen and older queens. If there's something that you can't shake, for me, is real estate. I would always come back to real estate. So that means I'm supposed to be doing it. Same thing for you. And here's another thing. You may have a few things that come back in your spirit. For some people, it could be singing, graphics design. Karen sings, she does graphic design. Do it. That's how you express the glory of the Most High to the world, when you do what it is implanted inside for you to do. So those desires, stop putting them to the side and neglecting them and saying, oh, no, this is for later. No, because tomorrow really isn't promised. So you never know. I know people who have said, oh, when I turn this age, I'm going to do something. Why wait? If you can do it now and the time works, go for it. Go for it, because you may not make it to that decade later. You may not, just the way you just may not. I'm not foreboding anything, but you may not. So why put off till way down there when you can get into something today? Because really all you have is today anyway. You don't have the future. When the future shows up, it's your present, right? So all you have is the present. So choose to do wisely with your present. So don't ignore those signals, those unctions, those feelings, those things that, like, I can't shake it. I've just got to design something. Go and design it. If it's interior design, just go do it. All right. So did I answer it?
You did so much. There is my own personal thought. I believe that there's a miss when you show up as someone else, because I don't know who I'm talking to. We need you exactly as you are. You're going to evolve and you're going to be mature. We don't need any carbon copies. We need you. So I love what you said, and it encouraged me, as I know it'll encourage anybody that will listen to this. So final question.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could talk to any woman, alive or deceased, who would it be, and what would you ask her?
My maternal grandmother, Drusilla Primo. She passed away in 2003 when the year before I got married. It was the year I got married, but she passed away in April. And and I would ask her about the family. I would ask her about our family history. If I could sneak in another person, it would be my paternal grandmother as well. And I would ask her the same thing. I want to know about my family history, because one of the things that I learned, things, behaviors passed down through lineages. And when you don't know who had what or what they were dealing with, that's just something that's missing from you. But also historically, where we were from. One of the things that I learned during COVID, as our family started to come together, is I have descendants on my father's side from Ethiopia. And I'm like, wow, I did not know that. And so I want to know more. I know a little bit of history from my mother's father, about my mother's father, who I never met. He died when she was young. But I would want to know my family history, because I think that is so important to bring those traditions and the stories. And I am big on that for my kids. And so I want to be able to pass that on to them. And currently my kids only have one living grandparent. And so it's very important for me to kind of piece together the history so I could pass it on to them.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Because several of my previous guests have said the same thing. So I have heard about recipes and just wanting to know history. And that is so important to understand from which you come, and
Mhm.
to know the lineage and all of the amazing people that contributed to who you see in the mirror.
Mhm.
That's a great thing. So I said this was the last question, and it was. I am going to give you the last word. Is there anything you would like to say to the audience on as we celebrate Women's History Month? My dear, you have the last word.
You know, I think Nike coined the phrase so perfectly. And so it'd be like two phrases: do you, young queen, or do you, queens, and just do it. Like, it's time out. It's time out for the procrastination on things. It's time out for should I, could I, just do it, take the step. It's time out for thinking through so much scripturally that you make no moves. So like analysis paralysis, but using the clutch of prayer and waiting for, the skies to open up in the heavens. It's time out for that. Scripture tells us the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in their way. Just take the step. We get caught up in calculating what the step's going to look like. Now, I know you got to count the cost. I get that. But start to make moves. Put the plan in action. If the plan is just in your brain, write it down. If the plan has been written down for 2 years, start making a task list and checking off some of the things to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, make the move. So do you, and just do it. And give yourself grace. Give yourself grace and have fun with it. Being a mom of 3 young ones, it's just like, play is so evident in what they do, but play is not just playing. Play is learning. Playing is experiential. Playing is their life. You know what I'm saying? And so have fun, play, use this as an opportunity. Whatever it is that you want to pursue, use that as a canvas, a blank canvas for you to create. Use it as an opportunity. You're creating with the Most High, and just have fun with it. So those are the points I want to leave you with. Enjoy it. Have fun. I mean, it's too short to be all, just enjoy it.
Let me tell you.
It's too short to be twisted up about stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, just stop.
Yes, I 100% receive that. And I thank you so much for being honest and transparent. And based on not just your bio, but this conversation, it is clear and evident to anyone listening that you not just did it, you are doing it. And you are a great example of what it means to live life to the absolute fullest. No regrets, making the mistakes, and being okay, because if given the opportunity, I can start again. And
Yes.
that is remarkable. That's remarkable. So I want to humbly thank you so much for agreeing to be another featured guest, another woman as we celebrate Women's History Month, doing it with grace, doing it with excellence, and inspiring me. So if nobody looks at this video, fine. I got what I needed today from Leslie Chapman. I thank you so very much from the depths of my heart. I really do appreciate you.
You're welcome. And if I can make a plug real quick, and that's not about the book though, because you may have some listeners or viewers who may want to be a passive investor in multifamily real estate. If that's you, you can Karen can get you to me, my contact information, and we can talk on the side about, maybe investing passively. Some people may just have the capital and they just like, I don't want to do all that day-to-day stuff, but I want my money working for me. So there's opportunities. So anyone like that, I'm in the Texas area, so totally open to that. Networking is very important. That's another point. And I know I didn't even bring that up. Network. And we get networking, we make it we make it too much. And that's what humans do. We just make things too much. Networking is just having conversations with people. Okay. You do that regularly. So, but it helps because you never know in that conversation, you may have something someone else needs, or you may know someone who can help someone else and vice versa. So just network, building up your network will also help you in whatever you do in the future, young queens and older queens.
All the seasons. All the seasons, queens. So we are going to make sure that you get all of her information. She is going to either provide me with an email address. I know she's on social media platforms because I follow her myself. We are going to point you to the description for all of that information. Please reach out to her, not just for the networking, not just for her knowledge. She is another woman that I highly encourage you to add to your arsenal of women that you need to know. Pick her. Well, I'm not a fan of the pick a brain anymore. Call her with a purpose. Don't just call her with no willy-nilly stuff because we're busy women. We're busy women. But she is someone that I encourage you to reach out to. I just humbly thank you. And thank you all for joining and listening to what I believe is a fruitful conversation. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you know when I post different content. Leave a comment if you so desire to let me know what you're interested in so that I can continue to provide you with resources and tools so that you can be successful, not just in STEM, but in your life pursuits. Until we talk again, please have a great day.
Oh, bye. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you for watching my video. I bring fresh content to you every week on Wednesday. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can get notified when I update my content every Wednesday.